Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
This is the closing bell on the Stock Movers Report. The companies making moves at the close of U.S. trading with Carol Massar, Tim Stenovec, Romaine Bostick, and Scarlett Fu.
All 11 of the S&P sectors were in the green on the day, led primarily by consumer discretionary stocks and tech stocks. Both of those indices up about 3% on the day. The laggards, relative laggards, we should point out, energy, utilities, and consumer staples, and they lagged because they were only up by 1%.
Where's Scarlett? I'm not used to Scarlett not doing the IMAP.
Wow, are you dissing Romaine? I thought his stuff was fine. He delivered.
Wow. He did it well. I just was I was a little confused.
Should I have said the spinach pie?
All right. Now it feels like it should. All right, let's get to some of the individual gainers. All right, Okta earnings. Excuse me, I'm busy. I'm actually working here. Okta out with first quarter adjusted EPS, 86 cents a share. The estimate on the street was 78 cents, so coming in stronger than expected. First quarter revenue, folks, $688 million. That too is coming in better than expected. $680.6 million. Stock's down about 11%. So. Here's the outlook. Second quarter revenue, $710 to $712 million. The estimate is $709.8 million. Investors not loving it, guys, though. Stock down about 10%, so there's got to be a little bit more to it. So we'll wait for some more headlines to come across. In the meantime, let's do some of the individual gainers. Hologic, definitely on that list, up about 14.5%, up 25% at its highs today, but finishing with about a 14% gain. We also saw a trading pause. Top gainer in the S&P 500. TPG and Blackstone making an approach to take the company private, offering to buy the group for more than $16 billion. This is coming from the Financial Times, citing unidentified people familiar with the matter. So definitely a standout there. U.S. Steel, also an outperformer. That stock up about 2% in today's session after CNBC's David Faber said that U.S. Steel Nippon deal is going to close probably very soon. There's been a lot of speculation after last week. There was reports from the president about a partnership, but nonetheless, we're expecting maybe some news on Friday. So we'll see where that goes. Warner Brothers Discovery, guys, it was up about 6% in today's session. I'm not sure that there was a clear catalyst. Benzinga writing that the video game adaptation of The Last of Us has been one of the most watched and anticipated series on HBO and Max since the release of its first season in 2023. So the second season's over. Everybody's looking at those viewership numbers, so maybe that gives the stock some juice. And I had to do this one. This is kind of a gift for you, Tim. Vertical Aerospace, eVTOL, is the ticker, EVTL, up about 14.5%. The company says it made European aviation history with the first ever piloted flight of a winged electric vertical takeoff and landing eVTOL aircraft in open airspace. So there you have it.
Cool.
I had to go for 4.
I just want to know how loud it's going to be. How loud is it going to be? That's the question I have. Also, pickings are really slim when it comes to decliners today, guys, on a day where you see such broad-based rallying. Bear with me, though. We got a 13.6% decline to ADRs of PDD Holdings. It is the parent company of Temu. The stock here, or the ADRs here in the U.S., fell as much as 18.4%. The company's quarterly sales and profit estimates, though, did highlight the impact of trade tensions between Washington and Beijing on its business. The company does face intensifying competition in the domestic China market by the shifting trade policies from the Trump administration that have hurt Temu, and will have to make pricey investments to adjust its business model. That could weigh on profitability in the short term. And speaking of the Trump administration, the president's Trump Media and Technology Group, the company that he owns a good portion of shares, shares fell today by 10.4%. The company did agree to sell around $1.5 billion in stock and $1 billion in convertible bonds to buy Bitcoin for its treasury. If that sounds familiar, it's because it's exactly or pretty similar to what Michael Saylor has done over at the company formerly known as MicroStrategy, now called Strategy. Shares fell as much as 12% earlier in the session, but again closed down by about 10.4%. The company has about $760 million in cash to defend against the financial institution and create synergies for subscription payments and other transactions. Finally, talking about Severa Pharmaceuticals. Its pharmaceutical company fell as much as 33% in the session, down 32% on the day. This after the FDA said the company's drug application for Molbreevi to treat patients with a rare lung disease was incomplete and needed to be refiled.
All right, I'm going to the bond market, guys. That's where the action continues to be. We saw buying all across the curve. And look at that back end, down by about 8 basis points. That was the biggest drop in yield since March. So take a look at that. Now, we had that 2-year auction. It was all right. I mean, the bid to cover was strong, but so was the high yield rate coming in at 3.95%, meaning that, like, there are buyers at what yield. They need that juicier yield in order to buy. But a lot of this was dictated by what the finance minister in Japan talked about, potentially reducing those long-term issuance within the market, and we saw a global bond rally, particularly in the back end, because of that.
The Stock Movers Report from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.